Hi everyone. Um, today, it's just me. It's just me and you. Okay. I hope that that's okay. I'm sure that it is. I'm sure you're probably like, yeah, whatever. What do you got for us today? So today, I initially I was going to talk about death, to be honest, but then the guides are basically like, Abigail, they're not really ready for your brand of understanding around that. So we're going to talk about something different. Just as important, in my opinion, especially when we think about like health and living and wanting to like think about things and get ourselves thinking and feeling things again, right? And this is in relation to being alone. So not necessarily a devious departure, right? But just being alone and being lonely. And this actually was something that came into um like my thought of like, oh, this is something that I want to talk about. Because I was in the car with my mom and I was taking her home and we had just had like a hangout session and gotten lunch. And as I'm driving her home, I was just saying, it's really interesting because, you know, people have a really hard time with being alone and they attribute being alone to being lonely. And so her and I are going back and forth and we're talking about this. And one of the things that came up was like how I was raised. And guys, let me tell you, like if you've met my mom or if you've heard my mom speak, like she's one of the most like interestingly non-cancerian cancers you have ever met. My mom is very loving to the people that she knows and cares about. Let me like put that asterisk on there. But when most people think about cancers, they think about how they are very in their emotions. Um, they're very like moody, and this is not who she is. This is not who she is at all. And so she did not raise us in this sort of way. And how she did raise us was that we were going to be very self-reliant. We were going to be very independent. We were going to take care of ourselves. And I think along the way, my well because while my mom is a very loving mom and she did for us the best she could with what she had, a therapist my mom was not. And so like checking in with us and seeing like how we were emotionally, not a strong suit. But what I also have found though is that because she wasn't that type of a person, it didn't make us overly um it didn't necessarily make us overly emotional people. It made us sensitive people. Like I think whether or not she had raised us that way, I think all of my siblings and I are very sensitive. I certainly am. That just comes part and parcel with me being an empath and being an intuitive. But like, so sensitive, yes, but like emotional, like emoting. No, I would say out of my siblings, I am the most emotional and definitely have had to be told by my mom to like take the emotion out of things, like take the emotionality out of things, which has been helpful in some ways and not helpful in others. But one of the things that I can like vividly remember is that first off, like I've always been by myself. I am currently single. Okay. Not that this is like a PSA for that, but like it's just so that you guys understand what I'm saying when I say like I've always been by myself. Like, yes, I have had family around, but like I am not a person who has constantly had a bunch of friends around me. Yes, I was a social creature in my school days, but if if I look towards my life and from 0 to now 36, I've never been able to be the person who has had a consistent person around. And that's why I would say, if I had to say, like, who is the one person that I would turn to if I ever needed anything, and who I have turned to if I have needed anything, has been my mom. Um, and so, like, no boyfriends, no girlfriends, um, no, like, significant others of any kind for any amount of time. And so I have found myself often, and few best friends. I will say that. Like, I have had a best friend, and we ended up like parting ways in, I want to say, my mid 20s. And since then, I would say, like, now we're what I would call just cautiously friendly. Um, but it didn't go back. Like, while we will like comment on an occasional post, this is not something that developed into a new deep friendship. So currently right now, like, I don't have what I would consider a like best friend. Um, and you guys, I say all of this to just reiterate the fact that when we're talking about being alone, this is truly like what I mean. I mean, I don't have somebody that I'm like, quote unquote, coming home to, who is obligated to listen to my day and have an emotional stake in it. And I never have. I do not have even a friend who I am like, you have been with me since the beginning, your ride or die. And even if you're not there from the beginning, that I have such a strong attachment to, such a strong relationship with, that I am like, once again, ride or die. This is the person who knows where the bodies are buried. This is the person who, like, if they needed to bury a body, they'd be calling me, and I wouldn't be saying, well, tell me all of the reasons, like, why you decided to, like, to, take them out and now need my help. There is not a person in my life that I could ever say that about. And so, and yet, with all of that, am I a sad, depressed, pathetic individual? No, no, I'm not. And I heavily believe that's because of how I was raised. My mom was very good at teaching me specifically, how to be alone. She was very good at showcasing what it meant to be a female in American society, and knew exactly what it was what skills I was going to need to cultivate in order to be really, really good with who I am, regardless of who is in my life. And the like best thing that I ever think that she could have ever taught me, and something that I think is vastly, vastly uh like underrated and like not taught, is that I know how to play by myself. You guys, this literally was a thought that came in my head of, like, I am never, even when I am alone, I am never feeling lonely. And even at my loneliest, I am not doing crazy shit like going out to a bar just to seek attention and socialness. And the reason why is because I know how to play by myself. And so I do this thing where I immediately, like, I put on a movie or I turn on some music. And I am like, oh, okay, here's something that I can engage with. And I engage with it. Now, some people would say that, like, entertainment is not something that you can engage with, and I fully disagree with that, because I engage with it all the time. I actually really truly engage. I will be watching a movie or a TV show and I will be talking to myself truly about what I'm seeing on the screen. I'm watching Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime. And it's a good version, guys. It's and as I'm watching it, I'm literally going like, okay, so this individual probably has this sort of like mentality, and this is why he's doing this. And oh, it's so sad. Like, if we look at this guy, even though he became a terrorist, like thinking about like how he became it and what other circumstances were probably like going through his head, what other things had probably happened to him, what stories had you heard? Oh, I wonder if it's like this for a lot of people out in our world today, like taking it out of the context of this is just entertainment and actually moving this into real life. What is this like? And what would I be like that? If, would I be like that? And of course, like, this isn't a constant stream of dialogue that I'm doing. I'm watching what's on TV, or what the movie is about, and all that. And so I'm starting and stopping, but I'm engaging with it through my own mind, and I'm taking a look and internalizing different aspects of lessons and emotionality and things that are coming through, and I'm playing with them. And I'm wondering how I can be better based off of what I'm seeing on the screen. And I'm actively asking myself the questions of, where have I made mistakes? Where have I not shown up well? And kind of run through the scenario of, is there something that I need to apologize for? Is there something that I need to do better? Is there some way in which I need to show up better? Next time that I go to, this place or this place, do I need to say something to this person? And there have been times where absolutely I've been like, you know what? Actually, I do need to apologize. So the next time I see that person, I need to apologize and take responsibility, take accountability. And even inside of, even when I'm reading books, it's the same deal. Like, I know that I can bring myself into a place where I'm doing some sort of internal investigation. And to some of y'all, this may sound exhausting as hell. And and I'm not going to sit and pretend like this is for everyone, but I would say that if you can find a way to learn how to play by yourself, that you're going to find that you're a vastly better person, and that you are going to let go of that idea of you being lonely or alone much, much quicker. I will say that, like, in my deepest, darkest moments, I have a pretty, like, standard thing that I do. And that is, I get into the deep dark of it. I feel like I'm by myself, that I'm doing everything by myself. I get into a little bit of a pity party, just a tiny bit. And then I realize, okay, this is disgusting. I don't like this. I don't like this feeling. Because I'm sad now, I'm going to reach out to somebody because that is the healthful response. And I reach out to the one person that has always been there, and that's my mom. And my mom usually, and this is just how much the universe loves me, that the universe always gives me exactly what I need. And that is that in this case, usually what will end up happening is that my mom will be busy. My mom will be either like cooking and she can't really pay attention. She'll be like playing games with her partner and like can't really be paying attention. Or she just doesn't answer the phone because she's not available. Like, she's out and about or something. Even if she is like able to answer the phone, usually I get a sense pretty quickly that she actually can't be on the phone to listen to me for very long. And so ultimately what I'll do is I'll be like, all right, well, I see that you're busy, so like I'll let you go, but like I guess call me later. And that is where I then revert back to what my mom taught me as a child, which was, Abigail, go play by yourself. It's okay. Like, you can play by yourself. You actually are smart enough and talented enough and brilliant enough to go and find something to do and not feel all disgusting and sad and weird because you're by yourself right now. Be the brilliant individual that you are, go and find something to do. And so I will then put on a movie, put on some TV, read a book, turn on some music, dance around my apartment, do something. Maybe I'll work out, maybe I'll journal. I find something to do. And then ultimately, my mom will end up calling me back and I'll be busy. And I'll be like, Mom, I'll talk to you later because I'm watching something or I'm reading something or I'm listening to something. And what I realized in that moment is that it took me all of about 10 minutes to get unalone or unlonely. Like, and I mean, I guess not unalone because I'm alone either way, right? Like I'm in the apartment or wherever by myself, but I'm not lonely anymore. And I think that this is just a really, really good like conversation to be had with yourself, guys, and maybe with other people. I would hope with other people. I would hope that you guys would be like, hey, best friend of mine, do you know how to play by yourself? And I'm sure that some joke is going to be made. I'm sure that somebody is going to be like, you mean, do I know how to play with myself? And guys, truly, honestly, friends, like, I am not going to sit here and say that that is also not a very appropriate use of your time. Absolutely, playing by yourself can mean playing with yourself. Do with that as you will. But once you get past the hilarity of the joke, really then like diving into the question, like, do you know how to play by yourself? As an adult, because this is the other aspect of this that I really thought was a very interesting aspect of this conversation is that we're so used to telling children this. We're so used to telling children, go play by yourself. But at what point do we stop realizing, do we stop doing that? Do we stop doing that when we're in our preteens and we've started going to, well, not preteens, started was like when we're children and we go to school? And now all of a sudden we've got this whole like group of people that we should quote unquote be playing with and should be interacting with. Do we stop understanding how to play by ourselves when we go to high school and now the socialness of everything is so big and so ridiculous that like so heavily focused on that? Does it happen in college when it's that is just the next iteration of whatever high school was, and that social aspect is once again so big? At what point do we realize that we've stopped being able to play by ourselves? Because I fully believe that because we can't play by ourselves as adults, that is why you see so much tragedy inside of relationships. You see so many people settling for partnerships that don't suit them and they know doesn't suit them, but they are like, I am so afraid of being alone that I just can't possibly get to a space where I'm okay with just being alone. Like, truly, I think if we did a deep dive on this, if we asked some pretty hard questions to people who have never not been in a relationship, I wonder if the answer to, do you know how to play by yourself, would be no, I don't. And maybe they never learned. I do think that like part of the reason for why people who are like my preference is actually to be in a relationship. I think a lot of that has to come with the fact that they don't know how to play by themselves. So anyway, I just think that it's a really interesting thought process, this idea that if we did this a deep dive, who has been in like a relationship their entire time and their entire lives, their adult lives, teenage lives, whatever, we would probably see that those who struggle the most with being alone are probably the ones that don't know how to play by themselves. They either weren't told that, they either had older siblings, they were just not required to having to figure out how to play by themselves. And I just think that this is it's a really interesting conversation. So I invite all of you to one, really think about like, are you okay with being alone? When you think about that idea, when you think about coming home to an empty house every single day for, let's say, a week, does that frighten you? Does that make you like really anxious? If you're a person that says, no, I could come home for a week totally alone and be totally fine, extend that time frame out. What about a couple of weeks? What about a couple of months? What about a couple of years? What about a decade? If you could only if you could only have like maybe the going to work and interacting with coworkers, maybe the occasional night out with friends, but for the most part, what you would experience is that you would be in your house alone by yourself. Would you be able to entertain yourself or would you go crazy? And I think that idea of how if you feel like you're the person who would go crazy, ask yourself, like, do I have a really good understanding of how to play by myself? Do I know how to entertain myself for any length of time? Because truly, what it comes down to for me is that I am my favorite company. I love myself so much. I 100% know how to be alone, and I do not get lonely often. And I truly, truly do. Like, just I am enamored by my own mind and my own heart and how I see the world. And I love going for walks by myself. And I love just sitting and reading and just watching movies and entertaining myself. I love cooking for myself. I love working out and by myself. Guys, I absolutely hate the gym. I hate the gym. I hate going because it's like too many people. I don't like group workouts. I think that they're gross. So I do basically all of my workouts at home on my mat in my living room, in my bedroom. Like, can I be a social animal? Do I like social? I actually am an extrovert, believe it or not. Like, probably at this point in my life, I'm more of an ambivert because I I pretty well like equal amounts of like going like whatever amount of time that I spend going out, I want just that much amount of time by myself. But if I'm being honest, I've spent so much time by myself, especially inside of my adult life, that like I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it. And you know what's crazy too is like I feel like all of that has also been a really, really good preparation for me to really excel at my clairaudience, my claircognizance, my clairvoyance, like my ability to see, what's behind the veil and stuff as a medical intuitive is so much stronger. And I think because I have not ever been in a space where I've constantly having somebody tell me how I should be because of how the world is. I've spent more time being like, this is how the world should be. Like, I can see how the world can be, should be, not how it is. So, I don't know. I think it's something to consider, especially if you're a person that finds yourself saying, I absolutely hate being alone. I hate being alone. I can't stand it. I don't like it. You guys, I really, really encourage you then to do a little like experiment. And for a day, even, like, learn to play by yourself and see how interesting and fascinating you actually are. Because you guys, we all have just such brilliance and light inside of us. And I think that it's worthwhile to discover yourself in such a way and know that you are worth more than what you think. And it's okay. It's okay to find peace inside of silence and peace inside of being alone. You don't always have to have somebody around you. Is it nice to have somebody around? Yeah, absolutely. Is it nice to have a partner that will sit there and validate every, emotion that you have? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying those things are bad things. I'm just saying that you are only half of a human if that's all you have or all that you want, and you haven't learned how to find peace inside of the other half of the coin, which the other half of the coin is that you're probably going to be alone sometimes. And then that's okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Breath of Life Conversations. We'll see you next week for our Shits and Giggles episode. Bye, y'all.